Wow, 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 wow. Here we are, week 13. I cannot believe it's already the end of this series. Oh my goodness, wow. I feel like I've learned so much in the last 13 weeks of this study, and I hope that you've enjoyed it as well. Maybe learned something new, maybe been challenged in a new way, maybe seen growth in yourself or in your relationships. Yeah, gosh, it feels like just so much. But I'm so thankful that you're here with me today. So thankful if you've come all this way with me. Like I said last week, I know 13 weeks is a long time to ask somebody to commit to, but I know that this stuff is, I mean, this is the stuff. Like, this is the whole point of why we're here, right? And so I'm really excited to wrap this up with you today because we're not done yet. We're on week 13, and we're talking about how love endures all things. Okay, so as we're talking about how love endures all things, some translations also say love always perseveres. It reminded me of Psalm 136, which is the one where it says over and over again, his love endures forever. And I'm a sucker for the Message translation. I love it so much. And in this passage, what it says over and over again is his love never quits. I really like reading verses from the Message translation because I feel like it really simplifies what's being said and it just helps me understand the core of the message in some passages. So I want to read this one to you because I think it is so beautiful. Okay, ready? Here we go. Psalm 136. Thank God. He deserves your thanks. His love never quits. Thank the God of all gods. His love never quits. Thank the Lord of all lords. His love never quits. Thank the miracle working God. His love never quits. The God whose skill formed the cosmos. His love never quits. The God who laid out earth on ocean foundations. His love never quits. The God who filled the skies with light. His love never quits. The sun to watch over the day. His love never quits. Moon and stars as guardians of the night. His love never quits. The God who struck down the Egyptian firstborn, his love never quits, and rescued Israel from Egypt's oppression, his love never quits. Took Israel in hand with his powerful hand, his love never quits. Split the Red Sea right in half, his love never quits. Led Israel right through the middle, his love never quits. Dumped Pharaoh and his armies in the sea, his love never quits. The God who marched his people through the desert, his love never quits. Smashed huge kingdoms right and left, his love never quits. Then I'll skip down a little bit more to the end part. God remembered us when we were down, his love never quits. Rescued us from the trampling boot, his love never quits. Takes care of everyone in time of need, his love never quits. Thank God who did it all, his love never quits. His love never quits. His love never gives up on us. He perseveres with us. And going right along with that, I think about the story of Hosea, which have you read that book? Or have you read Redeeming Love by Francine Nivers? Oh my goodness. That is one of my favorite books of all time. I just cry and cry and cry. It's so beautiful. And then I saw the movie and I just cried. Anyway, if you're not familiar with the story of Hosea, basically, God asks this man, Hosea, to marry a prostitute. And he obeys, but she just keeps leaving. She keeps going back to her old life. And every time she leaves, Hosea goes out and pursues her again. So his wife, Gomer, is just a big old mess. And she just seems incapable of receiving love. And it breaks your heart. And it's also so frustrating because you're like, girl, don't you see it would be better if you would just stay with him? Like, what's the big deal? Like, why would you want to go back to that life of prostitution? Why would you want to go back to that life where you're treated terribly? And then you see that God is using their relationship and their story as a parallel for the Israelites and their relationship to him. And honestly, us as well. Like the way that he is so good to us, he keeps pursuing us time and time again, even when we keep going back to our old lives and other things that are just so empty and worthless and don't do anything good for us. And God just saves them every single time. And when I put myself in that position, when I look at myself and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I've done that. It's just really humbling because it's so easy to look at Gomer and be like, you're ridiculous, get it together. Don't you see how good you could have it if you would just stay with Hosea? Why would you want to keep going back to that old life? But really, we do the exact same thing. Isn't it crazy how often we do that? Like how easily we just forget everything that God has done. And so, like, there's so many times when I've been worried and stressed out about having bills to pay, or for instance, there have been so many times where I've been worried and stressed out over bills that needed to be paid, medical stuff, whatever it may be. And God has provided every single time, every single time. But the thing is, then we'll have another bill that needs to be paid, and I'm right back there just stressed out again. And I've forgotten that He has already provided. Like, He's proven Himself faithful, He's proven Himself as our provider. So, why is it so hard for me to just remember that and to trust Him and not go back to that place of just doubt and fear all the time? But that's human nature, right? And it's usually because we're stuck in our old way of thinking. When I was talking about the Israelites going out of Egypt in that Psalm 136, we see that Moses led them through Egypt. God had literally just done miracles for them, all the plagues and parting the water, literally just splitting the sea in half so they could walk through and get out of bondage and be free and go to the promised land. And then just a little while later, they're in the wilderness whining about how hard it is to be out there, how they're sick of eating the same thing every day, and they just start building these statues of cows to worship instead. And you're just like, huh? Like, what? Like, what? God just did all of these crazy things for you. And you're over here like melting your jewelry to make a cow that you can worship instead because you're just tired of waiting. But we have to think that's really all they knew. Not that that's an excuse for their behavior, because come on, like that's a little ridiculous. But the only life they had ever lived was in slavery. These people, when they're out there in the desert, they're like, it would have been so much better for us to just stay in Egypt and die as slaves. And you're just like, really? Really? Like, you would rather just stay in bondage, beaten, abused, not taken care of, and die out there than just trust God for a little bit more after He's just shown you what He's capable of. But again, that's all they knew, and it was almost comfortable to them. You know what I mean? They knew what to expect. That was normal, that was familiar. And then they get out into this wilderness and they have lost all sense of normalcy. They don't know what to expect. They are totally having to trust in God every single day, even for the food and the water that they will have to drink each day. And that is a huge, huge switch, because now they're out here and they are totally, totally dependent on God. And really, the only thing about this that makes sense to me is that they just really could not understand and grasp all that God had just done for them. Because, yes, it's uncomfortable to be in a season where you feel like everything has been stripped away from you and you are totally depending on God. Like, you have no other choice, no other option but to trust that God will provide, trust that God will be faithful, trust that God will work it out. And I think that's why people go back to relationships and situations and jobs, mindsets that are just no good for them, because at least it's familiar. At least they feel some sense of control and like security in that. It's almost like we feel more comfortable and secure staying in our pain, because let's be real, it's not comfortable going through the healing process and being vulnerable and letting people in, or even trusting God, right? Like, that's a hard thing to do sometimes, but that's what God did for us. He literally left everything. Jesus did this exact same thing. He left everything that was normal to him. I mean, we're talking about the King of Kings left heaven so he could come as a human being and experience everything that we experience in life, every struggle, every temptation, every pain, every like bit of grief and discomfort, all that, just so that he could take our place and now be able to advocate for us at the Father's right hand. He's seen it all, he's felt it all, he knows how hard it is to be a human in this world, but he never gives up. He loves us so much that he never gives up on us. He always pursues us. He left the 99 to find you. There's nothing that can separate you from his love. This is the truth that is just, it's just soaked in. Like, the scriptures just saturated in his love and this truth about you and about me. And that's some real full on fierce, powerful love. You know what I mean? And that's the exact same love that we're supposed to extend to others. And we've talked about this the entire series, how hard it is to love hurting people. It is. It's not always easy to love. This picture of loving people well that I'm painting, I understand is a challenging one, that it's not all rainbows and butterflies and sunshine and daisies and easy and perfect. And no, like I understand there is going to be conflict. There are going to be things that are out of your control. There are going to be things that just don't get better. And that's okay. It's hard to love people who are scared to leave what's comfortable and what's, quote, safe to them. But what I love about Jesus is that he's an initiator anyway. He sees that. He knows that we're stubborn. Like literally, we're compared to sheep all throughout the Bible. They are just like, what else could be worse to be compared to? But he came for us. He went out of his way. He left everything that was convenient and comfortable for him because he loves us. And he persevered the worst of the worst for our sake, just so we could be with him forever and be free from all the weight of our sin. So when we're talking about what it means to love others well, there's so much we could say. There's so many ways it can play out, and there's just truly no end to the ways that we can experience and express love in this life through knowing Jesus. But if we give up when things get hard, is that really love? And that's what we're talking about today. I think this is the key. Like honestly, wrapping it up right here with love never giving up, that's the climax of it all, because at this point we've learned a whole lot about all kinds of love. But at the end of the day, if we start loving this way for a while but quit when we meet discomfort or confrontation or unpleasant people, what's the point? Love chooses to stay when it's hard. Love is patient in the process. Love is kind to people without expecting anything in return. Love isn't only looking out for yourself or being self focused, it's secure enough to slow down and take notice of others, to see the needs, and then be willing to go beyond yourself to meet them when you can and where you can. Love isn't about holding on to hurts, it's about healing them. Love isn't harsh, it's not manipulative. It's honest and vulnerable and willing to be in the messy middle with people. And that's who our Jesus is. That love is just reflecting who he is to the world. That's what this is all about. It's not about being perfect. It's not being the most frequent volunteer, okay? It's not about serving until you're burnt out and have nothing left to give, or becoming a doormat that bends to every single ask. It's not people pleasing. Remember that Jesus is the perfect example of love, and he took time for himself. He said no to people. He did not become a doormat. He knew when to slow down or take a step back for a season. My prayer, more than anything, is that you and I can just continue to grow in relationship with Jesus. And as we do, that we will continue to experience deeper levels of healing, deeper revelations of who he is, deeper faith, deeper understanding of what he's really calling us to. Because once we are secure in our identity in him, we can love others freely and lead them back to him so they can experience the same thing. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, really, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for sticking out this entire series with me. I know it's been long. I know it's been deep. I know it's been honest and vulnerable, but it has truly been such a good opportunity. Literally, if I'm the only one who got anything out of it, I feel like I'm better for it. But thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. I hope that your faith is encouraged. I hope that you understand on a deeper level how loved you are and how important it is to extend that love to other people. I just love this. I every time I go through this, I'm just reminded of what a good challenge it is to study the word like this and to learn more about what love actually looks like and how I can love and be loved better. I hope that you've learned something too. I hope that you can walk away feeling better equipped to heal and then extend the love that you've received and study during this time to a hurting world. If you didn't end up getting a copy of Love Is, you can always grab one. I'll make sure it's linked for you, and you can come back through the study at any time. You can do it with a friend, you can do it with a group. In my opinion, it's always more fun to do it with friends. But that's it. That's the end. That's all I've got for you. 13 weeks, we're done. Love Is. Thank you so much again for being here with me. Thank you so much for being willing to take on the challenge to love people better. Again, I know it's hard. I know it's a lot, but it is so rich. And your life, every time we choose to go a little deeper with the Lord and to learn to love people better, I feel like we grow and we are just better for it every single time. So, anyway, I'm just going to sit here and get all sappy if I don't, I almost said hang up right now. But I'm just going to end this while we're ahead. Thank you again so much, you guys. I hope you have had a wonderful time in the series with me, and I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you here soon. We'll be back for our regular episodes on Fridays, and until then, yeah, send me a message, send me a DM. I would love to hear what you've learned, and I'll be here for you on Fridays. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to tune into another episode of the By Word Show. I love having you here, and I'm so thankful for your support. Don't forget to share a screenshot of this episode to let me know you were here. I can't wait to talk again soon, but in the meantime, be sure to come hang out with me on Instagram, and remember, I am cheering you on.